When I say the word banjo, what do you hear in your head? For a lot of people, that's going to be the theme from Deliverance, dueling banjos. So something fast, loud, three-finger, Scruggs style, bluegrass, metal picks, resonator banjo, all that, right? And that is an awesome style, and it's sort of probably the most common thing you think of when you hear the word banjo. What I wish I had known in the beginning is that there are actually a ton of great styles out there. And that three-finger bluegrass style might not be the best style for your individual goals. So I could have saved quite a bit of time in the beginning if I had realized that there were these other styles that maybe would have suited me better. So that's what we're going to go over in this video. We're going to look at several different sort of the major banjo styles. I'll talk about each one, why you may want to pick it, why you may want to avoid it, give you a little demo of each, and yeah, we'll get into it. I think this is going to be really fun, and it's really going to help you if you're a beginning banjo player sort of trying to figure out where to start. So I think very broadly, banjo styles kind of fall into two categories. One would be finger picking, and the other would be sort of the strummier styles like clawhammer. So let's start with finger picking. The Scruggs three-finger style is the one you're probably most accustomed to. You play with the middle finger picks, typically on a banjo with a resonator. All that means is, so this banjo here does not have a back, it's an open back, but a lot of times, especially if you just bought your first banjo, it's gonna have this sort of round piece on the back that projects the sound outwards, and that's more typical of that bluegrass style. So I think that there are a couple of distinct advantages to that Scruggs bluegrass style. One is it is the classic banjo sound. If you want to just pick up a banjo and play something that sounds super impressive to the average person, like Scruggs is where it is at. It's also fantastic if you want to play in bluegrass jams or with a bluegrass band, or in fact, with any band, right? Because this style tends to really cut through the noise. Now, I think where it suffers a little bit is if you want to play solo. So especially if you want to sing. So that three-finger Scruggs style, I think personally, you might disagree, but I think it doesn't sound great as a backup for vocals. So that would sort of be my thinking there if I was choosing to start, would be, do I want to play with a band, either a modern band, bluegrass band, or just attend bluegrass jam sessions? Or do I want to play solo? Do I want to sing maybe? I might want to look at some of the other styles. So Earl Scruggs sort of evolved his style out of earlier finger-picking styles, and those, I think, are maybe a little better suited for solo or solo with singing. So that would be either just regular three-finger, which is very close to like finger-picking guitar. It's pretty much the same as Scruggs style, except the rhythms are a little different. They rely a little less on rolls and sort of these rhythmic patterns and play a little more of the melody of the song, which I think sounds really nice solo. There's also two-finger. So this would be two-finger, either thumb lead or index lead. This is a very simple style. This sounds great with singing. I don't think it always sounds as sort of entertaining to just an average listener if you're not singing, because it's so simple. But this is also a great one for beginners, because as a beginner, this is one you can pick up in a few hours and start to play stuff that sounds pretty decent, right? And it's one that you can really grow with too. My decision about whether to focus here on, say, two-finger or three-finger, if I wanted to do a finger-picking style and I wanted to play solo, would be if I wanted to sing with it or not. So if I was just playing without singing, I would probably go for three-finger. If I was going to sing, I think either two-finger or three-finger is great. I prefer two-finger a little bit. I think it's a ton of fun to play. It's a little more casual, and there's some really great old-time two-finger players that are a lot of fun to emulate, like Roscoe Holcomb and Doc Boggs, I think are two definitely worth checking out there. So this is a basic overview of the finger-picking styles. So the big sort of three would be the Scruggs bluegrass style, the standard three-finger finger-picking style, and then two-finger, either thumb lead or index lead. Next would be what I think of as the sort of strummier styles. People may disagree with me by classifying them that way, but hey, it's my video. By the way, before we get into this, do me a favor and hit the like button. Maybe subscribe to the channel. I'm new to this. It's super helpful. Anything helps. So yeah, thank you. The big sort of most popular strummier style would be clawhammer. Advantages of clawhammer is that It sounds great solo. Like it's a super impressive sounding style when you get good at it. And that's kind of a lot of fun. It sounds great solo on its own, sounds great with singing, and it can sound good with a band. I would say that you need a bit of a smaller band or some good miking of your banjo to sound good in a group setting with Clawhammer. So while I mentioned bluegrass jams earlier, Clawhammer kind of thrives in what they call old time jams. So old time jams will be songs that are typically a little older than the bluegrass sessions, and there's just a wealth of songs out there. It's really great. And I highly recommend if you play Clawhammer to attend an old time jam. They're a lot of fun. The other thing I'll say is that there's just a wealth of information on Clawhammer. So it's probably the second most popular behind that bluegrass Scruggs style. So bluegrass, you're going to find a ton of information. Clawhammer, you're also going to find a ton of information, which is great if you're learning and you don't have a teacher in person to teach you. That is definitely worth considering. The other finger styles I mentioned, 3-finger and 2-finger, there is some material out there, but it's not going to be as plentiful as the Clawhammer and bluegrass instruction. Next would be uppicking. So uppicking, to my ear, I'm gonna be honest, I play Clawhammer. It sounds pretty identical to Clawhammer to me. This was sort of popularized by a guy named Pete Seeger. Basically, instead of strumming down, he is picking up with his index finger on that initial bum of the bum ditty. It's really almost a style difference. And I think that if this makes more sense to you, absolutely go for it. Play around with it. And I think you can basically learn from the Clawhammer material that is out there. This is almost, although it is its own distinct style, I think it sounds close enough to Clawhammer that you're not really going to be able to tell the difference. So if it feels better to you, go for that one. And then I'll just briefly mention, you've got Dixieland Jazz and Irish banjo. If you wanted to play either one of those styles, you probably know it before you bought your banjo because they're usually played on a tenor banjo. So you probably bought a tenor banjo specifically for one of these. Not an expert in these. I'm not even a novice in these, so I'm not going to try to demonstrate them for you. If those interest you, definitely check them out. There is a lot of good stuff on YouTube from some great players. Worth checking out. That should give you a pretty good overview and give you some guidelines to picking the type of banjo you want to start with. And I should mention, if you do want to learn Clawhammer, check out this video. All right, see you next time.